Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I am feeling good on this Tenacious Tuesday because Donald John Trump and the administration have given us some red meat to chew on today. Trump just created a white grievance reparations fund. Reparations do not require legislation from the Congress of the United States in order to pay out people who've been aggrieved, who've been wronged, who've been waiting in a long line for repair for damages done. Today, our show is largely based off of an article written by Ellie Mistel for The Nation magazine. The title is Trump Just Created a White Grievance Reparations Fund. On Monday, the Department of Justice announced that it was creating a nearly $1.8 billion slush fund to compensate Trump supporters who've been mistreated by previous Democratic administrations. How about that? The fund is clearly an effort to offer a financial reward to January 6th insurrectionists who've already been pardoned by Trump. The program amounts to a white grievance fund paid for with money stolen from the public. The fund was announced as part of a deal Trump made to dismiss his $10 billion. Trump had accused the IRS of illegally leaking his tax returns. The Trump administration seems to want people to report that these two events as if they are linked. The DOJ has framed the slush fund as a way to hear and redress claims of others who suffered weaponization and lawfare. But in reality, they are connected only by the fact that they are both ways for Trump to steal money from the government. The IRS lawsuit would have been thrown out of court if Trump had not dismissed the case. Trump controls the IRS and the Department of Treasury, just like previous Democratic administrations have done. To the extent that the IRS did anything wrong, and the IRS did not do anything wrong, Trump's case against it should have been moot, and he oversees the agency. There cannot be a, quote, case in controversy, end quote, for the courts to adjudicate when one party controls both sides of the litigation. Trump versus Trump is not a case. Trump was just trying to extort the government he now runs for $10 billion. As for the DOJ slush fund, one way to look at it, that Trump is effectively setting up a mechanism where taxpayers have to pay him to funnel money to his own private army. The people who participated in the January 6th insurrection are literally criminals who acted on Trump's behalf and were then pardoned by Trump, only now being offered taxpayer dollars for their violent efforts. Nothing short, Illy suggests, other than it being insane. Moreover, the Justice Department has never been in the business of handing out free money to make things right, the wrongs of the past. If they suddenly are, boy, do I have some claims to make on behalf of the descendants of enslaved African Americans, because that's what this fund is. It is a reparations fund, but only for white people. It is precisely what the reparations movement has been asking for, only for the Trump administration. They only want to extend it to monetary apologies to white people who did violence on behalf of Donald John Trump. In the first hour of our show, and maybe even in the second hour of our show, we're going to talk about reparations. We're going to talk about what Democrats are doing and or have not done to give us reparations. I can't think of a people more worthy of it than the listeners of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, people who tune into KBLA Talk 1580 and other Black radio across the country. I can't think of a people more aggrieved than Native Americans. Maybe second only to the Native American, our African Americans. Our guest in this hour is Liz King, who recently served as Education Equity Senior Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a position she held from 2015 until 2025. In this role, Ms. King led the organization's work to ensure that all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education that prepare them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, and economic rights. Liz is our special guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I want to add that this coming Friday, we will be running a test on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our new phone number will be 833-746-9555. That's 833-746-9555. 833-SHOW, spell it out, SHOWJJJ. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we are going to be talking about the debt that is due to us, reparations. And now we know that Democrats can pass out reparations without having to go to Congress, that the Department of Justice can set up a fund and start writing us some checks. America has issued us a promissory note, Dr. King said, and it keeps coming back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the great vault of opportunity is bankrupt, and we are here upon demand to make our request for our fair share of what is America. More when we come back on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Tenacious Tuesday with Liz King. Just a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Deshauna Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, our very special guest and regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, where we always light it up. We're lighting it up with Liz King. Liz, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks, Congressman. Great to be here. Looking forward to lighting it up.
Hey, Liz, listen, this is unfair that Blacks have to study reparations in the United States. And there have been a number of efforts, including efforts led by the late Sheila Jackson Lee, to study reparations. But from the Japanese to the Civil War, to some Native Americans who've received access to casinos, their reparations seem to come far quicker than reparations for African Americans. And now the January 6th criminals, the insurrectionists, the Department of Justice has established a reparations fund, whatever you want to call it. It's a reparations fund for what they perceive to be damage and harm caused to them. Liz, where do we go from here on African American reparations and action to get it done?
I mean, first of all, we got to point out that even the bills to study reparations, and I think Mr. Conyers was leading this for a long time, even the bills to study reparations never became law. That even Democrats refused to co-sponsor those bills and bring them to the floor. So, I mean, even the sort of compromise effort to study didn't make progress, just as you said. I mean, first of all, anybody who is now or has ever been a member of the Black Panther Party should be submitting for their own reparation. Anybody who has ever been subject to racial profiling by a police department that received federal funding should be submitting their claim for reparations. Anybody who's been subject to incarceration as a result of the imbalance between crack and powder cocaine should be submitting a reparation. I mean, this is absolute nonsense. And I think it's important to remember that this reparation fund bears no relationship to the reparations that Black community leaders have been advocating for decades, because the underlying point to that has always been that this country was built off of uncompensated labor by Black people and the legacy of white supremacy and racial inequality that continued to maintain the racial wealth gap, the racial income gap. And what we're seeing here is not even that. There is not even sufficient evidence. It is not as though, obviously, not only did these people break the law, not only did they break a reasonable, defensible law that said you don't get to riot on the Capitol, you don't get to bust windows and threaten members of Congress. Not only did they break those reasonable laws, it is not as though they have been contributing to the economic life of the country and been denied adequate fair compensation for that contribution. I mean, it's just outrageous. It is unprecedented. And I think it just shows how much they are blatantly leaning into a double standard here. And more to the point, I think we have to think about this in the context of the Calais decision. We have to be reminded that what is happening here is not an effort to bring us back to 1950. We were wrong when they thought we wanted to go back, when we thought they wanted to go back to 1950. They don't want to go back pre-Civil Rights Act of 1964 or pre-Brown v. Board of Education decision of 1954. They want to go back and relitigate the Civil War. I mean, that is what's happening. They are undoing Reconstruction. This is them trying to take back that 40 acre and a mule that 3 people got. I mean, this is indefensible nonsense, and it cannot be allowed to continue.
You know, Liz, I'm wondering, in the Democratic Party, to which we will be in a primary process nationally, I remember being at the National Action Network a few years ago when Reverend Sharpton had every candidate there, and I'm not even discussing this past summer where they were there as well, but maybe three and a half years ago, maybe 2 years ago, just before the general election and before Joe Biden stepped out, every candidate who came across the stage said they were willing to endorse the idea of studying reparations. It seems to me what Donald Trump has done now is opened up a door to reparations without the approval of the Congress, that it is essentially something that the President of the United States can do with the Department of Justice and the Department of Treasury, that a fund can be set up to compensate the descendants of African American slavery. Now, the question is, should we in 2026 begin the process of holding Democrats accountable for a fund that does not require the acquiescence of Congress to begin compensating us for slavery and our descendants?
I mean, look, they're about to tell us which side of this they're on, right? So we have already heard that a couple of members of Congress are thinking about suing the Justice Department and challenging the lawfulness. We're gonna have to see, our friend, the senator from Pennsylvania, who seems to have lost his way in the most dramatic. I mean, look, I think it is absolutely worth considering what the path forward is here and how we would go about doing this. There's another point I want to put on the table, another thing that's happening right now. So the TRIO program's been around for a long time, incredibly important, expanding doors to opportunity, doors to college. The Trump administration is trying to twist the TRIO program and take it from a college access and success program and turn it into career training. And so we have to look at, not only are they swinging wide the doors for this white supremacist payout, at the same time they're closing doors to the minimal progress we've been able to make in advancing racial equity in our economy. So I think absolutely, what we know here, the question is, will you or won't you on day one open the coffers of the Justice Department and start handing out money? I think that's the real question. I think you're absolutely right, Congressman. This is where the conversation starts.
Liz, I tell you what's interesting. I've always seen affirmative action as a conservative remedy for the negative action that has been reaped upon people of color, African Americans specifically, but women, the LGBT community. The government must take affirmative action because of the history of negative action. This historical denial period that we're in at this moment suggests there are no negative actions being taken, and therefore the government does not need an affirmative remedy. I've always seen diversity, equity, and inclusion as a conservative remedy, historically supported by conservatives, to create inclusion in spaces where women, Native Americans, African Americans, and others who are extremely qualified to get in, at least with our elbows, room was made for us to participate. But what we have here now is a white grievance fund. And if every American gets to bring their grievance, the redress of their grievances to the government and receive a check for the nature of their grievance, this door has clearly been opened. Without any more programs, a check can be written. So I hear you. TRIO, I get it. That's a program that is a conservative remedy supported by Democrats, and white Republicans to address a problem. Student loans is a program that has been historically supported by white Democrats and white Republicans as a way to get students who normally would not be able to go to college to get into college. Hell, a mortgage on your home, particularly anti-discrimination mortgages in communities, that becomes a conservative remedy for, if I work and I can afford to buy a home in a community, you can let me in the community because I can afford the home and it's the home of choice and the government will guarantee my loan. That's a form of repair for damages done for segregated communities. All of these conservative remedies, every single government program has shied away from the idea that when you have been aggrieved, or you have as a people, a caste, a class, or a race of people, that we will write you directly a check to the aggrieved party and or their descendants. We have never seen this before, but it is clear to me that Donald Trump has opened the door to a legitimate argument in the Democratic Party, because delay from Democrats is the deadliest form of denial. Justice delayed is justice denied. Now, I'm planning on voting Democrat. I ran as a Democratic congressman. I have fought for the Democratic Party. I've registered more voters than most Democrats in Congress because they don't register voters. That's left for the rest of us to do. But when it comes to writing me my check, it seems that we should be in line to make that happen almost immediately. Liz, can we count, or do you think it is a legitimate demand to demand of Democrats running for president of the United States how they're going to compensate African Americans?
Oh, I think I absolutely think it is not only a legitimate demand, but an imperative. I mean, I think the question now, everybody needs to go get their invoice together and submit it to the Department of Justice. To your point, calling this a grievance fund, let's talk about who has a grievance against the Department of Justice, not just in the Trump administration. I mean, I think that's part of what we need to take into account here is the complicity of Democrats in allowing, even just narrowly, the use of the Justice Department to marginalize, to deny freedom, to deny opportunity to Black people across administration. So I think absolutely the question has got to be to everybody running for office, what are you going to do? I mean, if this is now been put on the table, he has put on the table, you can just open the doors of the Justice Department and start cutting checks. And so let's hear why not me? Why not Black communities in this country who have waited for too long? And to your point, look, everybody has tried all these compromise solutions. They have tried all of these programs. That was the idea. The idea, what we were told was it is not politically possible to swing open the doors and cut the checks. I think the answer is that is absolutely possible, and it's just a question of time. Absolutely.
And a question of the will of the people. Liz, I know we have just about 4 minutes before we come forward in this segment of our program. The South Carolina legislature appears to be targeting Congressman Jim Clyburn as part of Donald Trump's grievances. Your thoughts on the consequences of redrawing that district in the midterms or before the November election, and what it would mean to lose the leadership of Jim Clyburn if that were allowed to happen?
I mean, first of all, if you wanted to restore and elevate white supremacy in this country, you should go after Mr. Clyburn. I mean, Mr. Clyburn is an incredibly effective leader who has been working in Congress to create a more equal opportunity for everyone. Obviously, especially for his own constituents in South Carolina. But Mr. Clyburn has done so much for all of us. It is no surprise that he has a target on his back. I mean, that's certainly not the first time. I think what we are seeing here, this complete rejection of our democratic system of government, this complete rejection of Black political power. We look at even Tennessee. You've got Steve Cohen, a white man elected from a majority Black district. This is about diminishing Black political power. This is about taking Black people's opportunity to choose their own leaders away from them, whether that's Mr. Clyburn or Steve Cohen or anybody else. And I think, Mr. Clyburn I have endless confidence in him to manage this situation as the best that he can. But I think that what happened with the Calais decision, where the Supreme Court said that local jurisdictions are allowed to disenfranchise Black voters, when they said that in that decision, it is a wake-up call for all of us that they are coming for. They're not just coming for the progress of the last 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 60 years. They are trying to turn the clock back 150 years. And we've got to get together and we've got to stop them. We cannot let this happen.
Jim Clyburn is one of the most effective members of Congress in the history of the Congress of the United States. He's delivered tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to the people of South Carolina, but he's also responsible for helping distribute resources to congressional districts around the country that are similarly situated. When I was a freshman in Congress, to be able to go to Jim Clyburn and say, brother, I need a fresh water project right here. I need this right here, Mr. Clyburn. This school district right here is struggling without the resources. To be able to go to Jim Clyburn and have him fill in various pieces of legislation, report language, key pieces of language that are necessary for districts way over here in Chicago or South Central Los Angeles or Texas or in Alabama or Mississippi. Jim Clyburn is absolutely that guy. The idea that the state of South Carolina would even struggle with the idea of removing one of its most effective members is just beyond the pale. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're lighting it up with Liz King. Benny Thompson's district, I understand, is getting a reprieve from the state of Mississippi, but now the state legislative Republican caucus in the state of Mississippi is saying this is very well likely Benny Thompson's last term because they plan after the election in November to carve up that district as well. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're talking about our fair share when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says more prescription drugs are being added to the Trump RX website.
So we've slashed the price of dozens of commonly used prescription drugs by differences of 400, 500, and even 600%.
Speaking at the White House event, he said the expansion will significantly increase discounted medications and could save Americans hundreds of billions in costs. Memphis police say a bomb threat forced an evacuation at the National Civil Rights Museum over the weekend. The facility was cleared as a precaution while authorities searched the area. No explosives were found, and the incident came the same day the museum unveiled its new legacy experience. And Kanye West's planned concert in India has been canceled after a series of European show disruptions. Organizers say the New Delhi event set for May 23rd was called off due to security concerns. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The laughs keep coming when Bert Kreischer hits Fantasy Springs Resort Casino May 22nd. Big energy, big comedy, one wild night. Get tickets now at FantasySpringsResort.com. That's FantasySpringsResort.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When the Oklahoma City Thunder swept the Lakers in the second round of the NBA playoffs, there was nobody on the Lakers roster who came close to the talent level of Victor Wembanyama. OKC found out Monday night that they have a serious upgrade in competition in the Western Conference Finals. Wembanyama had a dominating performance in Game 1 for the San Antonio Spurs, 41 points, 24 rebounds, and 3 block shots. The numbers added up to a 122-115 victory for the Spurs in double overtime in Oklahoma City. At age 22, Wembanyama is the youngest player in NBA history to have at least 40 points and 20 rebounds in a playoff game. OKC has a lot of work to do to figure out how to handle this rising superstar. Game 2 is Wednesday night in Oklahoma City. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals is tonight, Cleveland at New York, 5 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
Hi, I'm Fred Martin, founder of Compton Kids Club. I just want to talk about the authenticity and tell y'all about my homeboy, Tom Steyer. Tom is a rock star. When I met him, Tom gave a grant to schools in San Francisco. All the kids were on probation. We were flying instructors for 2 years to come and help those kids doing performing arts and turning their life around. Some of the kids that he supported, they've graduated from UCLA. Let's fast forward. Tom is in schools in Compton, hanging out with the kids in the piano classes. Brother Tom Steyer hangs out in the studio with us. These are the seeds that he's planted. This has nothing to do with elections. What's coming out of his mouth is not a campaign speech. It's authentic. And when he say he walks away from a business because he want to do his values, he ain't making that up because he's running for governor. This man is real.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer.
On KBLA Talk 1580, there is a history here, Liz King, of reparations in the United States, and it can be documented by the congressional the congressional record, if you will. Congressional history of reparations primarily centers on legislation to study and develop proposals for Black Americans, though it includes, now listen to this, historical actions for Japanese Americans. Landmark moments range from post-Civil War efforts and the Japanese internment redress in 1988 to the ongoing pursuit of H.R. 40 today. In 1862, the D.C. Compensated Emancipation Act, enacted prior to the end of the Civil War. This act abolished slavery in D.C. and paid enslavers up to $300 for each freed person. That's right. Slave masters got reimbursed for their property, but not those who were injured. The Freedmen's Bureau Act, Congress established the Freedmen's Bureau to provide food, housing, and medical aid, and it authorized the leasing and eventual sale of 40-acre plots of confiscated land to newly freed African Americans. However, following the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln, President Andrew Johnson largely dismantled these land provisions. Then there's the pension movement in the late 19th century. During the late 19th century, organizations like the National Ex-Slave Mutual Relief Bounty and Pension Association formed to lobby Congress for direct financial pensions for formerly enslaved individuals. Several bills were introduced in the 1890s, such as the 1894 Senate bill proposing up to $500 in direct payments and monthly pensions. These proposals ultimately died in committee and the movement faded prior to World War I. In 1998, the Japanese American redress legislation, while not related to the enslavement of African Americans, this is the most successful national reparations legislation in U.S. history. Congress passed the Civil Liberties Act to acknowledge that unconstitutional internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. The legislation authorized a formal apology and provided $20,000 in compensation to each surviving internee. And even if you want to make the argument that the Negro did not become an American citizen until the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, or the right to vote until the 15th Amendment, and women, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, one would certainly have to include that period of time from then to the present where there are grievances based upon how we have been treated here in the United States. So there is a deep and rich history for setting up a compensation fund for aggrieved African Americans in terms of our schools, our health cares, and all of the disparities that exist in our system that some have even suggested is a compensation fund, Liz King, that is in the trillions of dollars. Liz, a tough day when we get to see white Americans who stormed our Capitol be compensated by a fund that doesn't require the approval of Congress. And we have been waiting patiently for our bounced check. Liz?
Yeah, I think that where to begin? Even the prospect that the weaponization, they're using this language of the weaponization of the Department of Justice as if, I want to go back to COINTELPRO. I want to talk about the active role of the Department of Justice in limiting, in harassing individual people, and undermining the civil rights movement. But to your point, where do you draw the line? There's almost everybody here. The irony here is it's like they went out and they looked for who has the least grievance against the Justice Department, and then they made these people eligible for this slush fund. It just is ridiculous that, I don't even understand. We know what's happening here, Congressman. We know exactly what's happening here.
Even the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, position yourselves well in your seats out there in radio land and in app land, because the idea that congressional districts would be drawn to give an African American an equal opportunity of getting elected to Congress, where whites can run in the district, Hispanics can run in the same district, African Americans can run in the district, African Americans an equal opportunity to run in a district. Everyone fills out the same petitions and processes so that our representatives, if elected, can go to the Congress of the United States, carry our grievances with integrity, and say that, hey, we have an aggrieved people here in the United States who deserve better schools, better housing, better health care, better education, more money, raising the minimum wage to a livable wage, to a sharing economy, to all of the ideas that emanate from our grievance that really direct the Congress of the United States, whether it is the creation of Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, all of these things where we work and don't have pension funds can pay into a government fund that when we retire, because we were not hired by the private sector, there is some benefit that comes back from the money that we earned so that we can survive into our older age. That's all part of a big, big compensation fund that is now being tampered with in this war on Black people. And the war on Black people impacts so many other people. They're all caught up in the same war, but they get to, what Reagan did was he would paint the problem Black, convince the American people that to get rid of this program or to get rid of this or to do it this way is to justify its elimination, only to find out, Dad called it the Al Jolson syndrome, that when Al Jolson, who used to come out on stage with blackface, the entire audience would laugh and giggle as he made fun of this image of Black people. But ultimately, when Al Jolson went back into his green room and washed his face, he was but a white man that people were laughing at. In other words, they're laughing at themselves. So if you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, you ought to hit that Facebook share right now. Hit that Facebook share right now, because we are having an important conversation about the ways in which we have been compensated. Yesterday, Liz, the Supreme Court of the United States issued a remand to the courts in a 3-judge panel where they had issued a stay, now suggesting that the Louisiana versus Calais decision can impact and should consider state legislative races as well, that it is not just limited to congressional seats in the Congress, but to the ways in which state legislative districts have been drawn to comply with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act as well. Liz, in this case, as it relates to undermining the progress of African Americans, the court seems to be moving like it should have done with Brown versus the Board of Education, with all deliberate speed.
I mean, it is impressive that the speed with which they are removing, every root and branch of racial progress that we as a country have made. I mean, it is just the accelerated pace at which they are looking to turn the clock back. Part of thinking about connecting these dots here, it brings me back to, and we've talked about this before, but the give us the ballot speech that King gave, and then remarks that Walter Fauntroy made later about the Voting Rights Act. Hey, look, first, these civil rights leaders, the civil rights movement came and said, we have a petition for grievance. We give us you come back, you say marked insufficient funds, give us what we are owed, give us what they are owed. And they were not getting it. And they said, okay, fine, then just give us the right to vote. Then you don't have to give us what we are owed because we'll go get it ourselves. We will elect leaders who will represent us, turn a Southern Manifesto into a manifesto of justice. And I think what we are seeing is absolutely a coordinated anti-Black agenda that is going to hurt all of us. The lie that the horrible pain of this will only ever be felt by the Black community is a lie. There is nothing in this slush fund that makes life better for white people in Appalachia. Nobody in Kentucky, no matter their race, nobody in Kentucky's life will get better because they're handing out money to people who invaded the Capitol. I mean, it's indefensible, and we need to call it out for what it is. Absolutely.
Exactly that. Liz, let me tell you this. When I think about the process and how many meetings I granted and how many meetings members of Congress grant from affected African-American groups and organizations, just asking us to sign on to the legislation to study it, just the amount of labor, the amount of work, the trips to and from congressional offices and Senate offices, just asking members of Congress, will you please sign on to the reparations bill? Will you please give us a chance to study it? And now you're telling me that the 1,600 insurrectionists don't have to knock on the doors of every member of Congress and make the case for why they need to be compensated? They don't have to do any of that? They don't have to jump on a plane every congressional session and ask congressmen to file a piece of legislation saying, we think that we need to be compensated because we were unjustly imprisoned, even though no one in the Congress of the United States can justify co-sponsoring such a piece of legislation against the facts of how it came about in the first place. The fact that white folks get to avoid the entire process that the rest of us go for when we fight for our grievances and to redress our grievances is insulting. And I know you know this, Liz, and I'm so proud that you identify with my thinking on this, because this is shameful. This is shameful. But now it's time, in my opinion, to turn our shame into power. We must ask of the Democratic Party as well, what you gonna do? Are you gonna put up the money? Are you gonna tell us how much you're gonna put in the compensation fund should Democratic nominee and president of the United States? We have high expectations for Democrats in the midterms. We also have high expectations in our own quality of lives and our own ability to afford to live in the United States. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're lighting it up with Liz King. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you still pouring gallons and gallons of water into a thirsty lawn that never seems to get enough water? LADWP has a special offer for a free water-saving front yard refresh available to eligible LADWP residential customers. LADWP handles all the work, including lawn removal, installing an efficient irrigation system, and planting beautiful California-friendly plants. Save water and lower your bill with a free front yard refresh. See if you qualify at LADWP.com/LEAP. That's LADWP.com/LEAP.
You have your vote by mail ballot. Now it's time to vote. Drop it off early at any official ballot drop box. Visit plan.lavote.gov to learn more. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for, open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bankguide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh, no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. Things are changing fast and no one knows what comes next. Times like these make you realize just how important it is to be prepared. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. They're America's #1 most trusted resource for survival food, solar power, water filtration systems, and more. Go to preparewithamerica.com to unlock a special offer that'll help you get ready for whatever comes our way. Go to preparewithamerica.com to see the special offer right now. That's preparewithamerica.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour has been none other than Liz King. Liz, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Loving the conversation.
Liz, there's a really interesting article, and I do realize we don't have much time left, a really interesting article published in Brookings, Why We Need Reparations for Black Americans. Rayshawn Ray and Andre Imperi wrote on April 15th, 2020. They offer an interesting history. Reparations, a little definition, a system of redress for egregious injustices, are not foreign to the United States. Native Americans have received land and billions of dollars for various benefits and programs for being forcibly exiled from their native lands. For Japanese Americans, $1.5 billion was paid to those who were interned during World War II. Additionally, the United States, via the Marshall Plan, helped to ensure that Jews received reparations for the Holocaust, including making various investments over time. In 1952, West Germany agreed to pay 3.45 billion Deutschmarks to Holocaust survivors, and lest should we forget, even the creation of the State of Israel, largely supported by the United States and Britain, it too was a form of reparations for damage that had been done during the Holocaust, helping Jewish people achieve their theological and lifelong aspirations for a homeland. Black Americans are the only group that has not received reparations from state-sanctioned racial discrimination. While slavery afforded some white families the ability to accrue tremendous wealth, and we must note that American slavery was particularly brutal. About 15% of the enslaved shipped from West Africans died during transport. The enslaved were regularly beaten and lynched for frivolous infractions. Slavery also disrupted families, as 1 in 3 marriages were split up and 1 in 5 children were separated from their parents. The case for reparations can be made on economic, social, and moral grounds. The United States had multiple opportunities to atone for slavery, each a missed chance to make the American dream a reality, but has yet to undertake significant action. And now they are removing our congressional seats as well as our state representative seats. And this is not the end of that great struggle. Liz, we have about 3 minutes to the top of the show, and we have plenty of time for your final thoughts and a word of hope.
Yeah, Congressman, I think, part of what we're seeing here is not just anti-Black racism, but we're also seeing, there's a reason they don't want this studied. They know there's no way this scheme could hold up to study. And by the same token, there's a reason they don't want to study reparations for Black Americans, because they know there's no way you could study the issue and not come to the conclusion that individual Black people in the United States are entitled to an actual check from the United States federal government. And so I think the question for all of us is, what do we do now? That is unfortunately the question we are left with every single day of this administration, is what do we do now? And I think you have absolutely hit the nail on the head, that part of what we do now is say, why for these people is it so easy when for others it is so hard? And I think that is the question we have to ask about everything. This Trump administration has done a lot of terrible, terrible things to every person who lives in this country and to the generations who come beyond. But what they have shown us is that it's so much easier than anybody ever told us before. They told us we had to wait. They told us it wasn't time. They told us it wasn't politically palatable. And I think you have absolutely hit the nail on the head. We're done with that now. We won't be doing that anymore. We are uninterested hearing from any presidential candidate about how politically challenging it is to create racial justice for the first time in the United States, how difficult it would be to move a major reparations package forward out of the Department of Justice. We are done being told that it can't be done. We are done being told it will take too long. We're over that. It's time to move on. It's time for action.
Liz, you are amazing. You are amazing. It is time for some action. Now, that doesn't get you out to vote in the midterms, knowing full well that our members of Congress can advocate for reparations, but thanks to Donald John Trump, we no longer need legislation to get it done. We can hold the Democratic candidates, the Democratic nominee, and ultimately the Democratic president of the United States accountable to creating a fund for African-American descendants of slavery in the Department of Justice that should compensate the descendants of these egregious wrongs against our people. How about that? Donald Trump actually is making a contribution to Black history unwittingly and without knowledge. That's exactly what he's doing. because he is establishing precedents that the U.S. government has largely based its decisions off of for decades. He has opened up a can of worms that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Liz, thank you for being on our show this week. Look forward to our chat in the not too distant future. More when we come back on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says more prescription drugs are being added to the Trump RX website.
So we've slashed the price of dozens of commonly used prescription drugs by differences of 400, 500, and even 600%.
Speaking at the White House event, he said the expansion will significantly increase discounted medications and could save Americans hundreds of billions in costs. Memphis police say a bomb threat forced an evacuation at the National Civil Rights Museum over the weekend. The facility was cleared as a precaution while authorities searched the area. No explosives were found, and the incident came the same day the museum unveiled its new legacy experience. And Kanye West's planned concert in India has been canceled after a series of European show disruptions. Organizers say the New Delhi event set for May 23rd was called off due to security concerns. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The laughs keep coming when Bert Kreischer hits Fantasy Springs Resort Casino May 22nd. Big energy, big comedy, one wild night. Get tickets now at FantasySpringsResort.com. That's FantasySpringsResort.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When the Oklahoma City Thunder swept the Lakers in the second round of the NBA playoffs, there was nobody on the Lakers roster who came close to the talent level of Victor Wembanyama. OKC found out Monday night that they have a serious upgrade in competition in the Western Conference Finals. Wembanyama had a dominating performance in Game 1 for the San Antonio Spurs, 41 points, 24 rebounds, and 3 block shots. The numbers added up to a 122-115 victory for the Spurs in double overtime in Oklahoma City. At age 22, Wembanyama is the youngest player in NBA history to have at least 40 points and 20 rebounds in a playoff game. OKC has a lot of work to do to figure out how to handle this rising superstar. Game 2 is Wednesday night in Oklahoma City. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals is tonight, Cleveland at New York, 5 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and therefore, we are on the line with Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and is internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the former Voting Rights Act of 1965. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Barbara, I am so honored that you're here. And before we bring on our very special guest, and I make our very special guest's introduction,
he won't be on until to the second segment.
To the second segment. But I did want to ask you the question: major progress at the march that you helped organize in Alabama. I want to give you some time in the first segment to share with us what the implications were, what was accomplished, and how important it was. Barbara Arnwine.
It was really amazing because remember, our biggest problem when it comes to making sure people know how the Supreme Court has weaponized its Calais decision to destroy Black, Brown, and Native American political power. The biggest problem is people have no idea because it's not on TV in any substantial way. They don't really, if they hear the story, they don't know what it really means. So what our duty and our challenge was in less than 2 weeks to pull together a national protest mobilization in one of the scenes of the crime states, and we chose Alabama because it's really one of the worst in trying to destroy Black political power. And we decided that we wanted to make sure that we did this so people could pay attention and get educated, and also to mobilize our troops, because what we don't want in this moment is for people to be sitting back going, oh, woe is me, there's nothing I can do, this is horrible. But instead, we want to teach people how to actually respond to this moment with power, for greater power, and to stop this nonsense. What people don't know, and what I think you probably have been as horrified as I have, is to watch some of those hearings. People, they've been gloating. These state legislators, these white legislators have been gloating about how they're destroying Black political power. In one legislature, they literally, there's a video that got caught out on social media where you could see them laughing and clapping because one of their members walks in saying, "We did it," wearing a Trump flag. That's how bad this stuff is.
Barbara, let me ask you a question. I was the national field director for the Rainbow Coalition when my father ran for president in 1988 until my service in the Congress of the United States beginning in 1995. And we had regular training for all of our nonviolent activities. We knew just about everybody who was showing up at the marches, because should anything go left or go right, we wanted to follow the protocols, including but not limited to having met with the authorities, including having lawyers ready to bail us out in the event that we were arrested for our activity.
Yes.
One of the distinctions I've been making on the program in the last week about the No Kings March, about the Alabama March, and now I know we will talk about the activity that's going to be taking place that you're helping organize in Mississippi.
Yes.
There's always confrontation. John Lewis, James Bevel, as a result of the shooting of Jimmy Lee Jackson, they fully expected confrontation on the other side of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. In fact, they said something like, "The world is watching." When the students on February 1st, 1960 went to the lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina, they fully expected confrontation. They put on their Sunday's finest, their suits and their ties. They were spit upon. They were disrespected. They threw food at them. They would not serve them. They escorted them out. Some of them were punched in the face, but they expected confrontation, and the response was nonviolent. The Freedom Riders They knew blacks and whites and Jews and Christians and Muslims riding on those buses in the South, they were going to be nonviolent in their response, but their buses were set on fire and they were beaten because they expected confrontation. Barbara, the question has been presented to us, why are our marches today not working? And my question to you, when are we going to confront the evil itself for the dramatic effect that is created as a result of the confrontation? Barbara.
Well, check this out. There actually was a permit rendered in Alabama for May 16th for the during the All Roads Lead to the South for a counter protest of whites who were mad that blacks had the nerve to think they should have political power. There actually was a permit that they sought and got to it, and we had to set aside a whole area for their counter protests. It didn't happen. And it didn't happen because we're not sure why. They just didn't show up. I think they might have gotten a little discouraged when they heard it was going to be 6,000 people. They probably thought we might get 100 out there.
That's enough to run the Klan out of town. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Barbara Arnwine on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine on Tenacious Tuesday right here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Barbara currently serves as co-chair and facilitator of the National Commission for Voter Justice, the Millennial Votes Matters convenings, and the Voting Rights Alliance. She was the head of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law from February 1989 until June 2015 and holds the honorific title of President Emeritus. Attorney Barbara Arnwine, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, On the Grind.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, Barbara, I want to go back to this point that we were having before the break about confrontation. I get it. 10 Klansmen didn't show up with their
No. Whatever they said, they were going to have a little 100 something, but they didn't show up. But
Yeah.
you know what? But you know what the other big difference is?
Yes, ma'am.
Remember that in the 60s, nationwide, you only had 8, I think it was 7 to 8 Black Congress people, for example. On Saturday, you had 22 congressional members, including Senator Cory Booker, who showed up. And they brought all that security. They brought, you had all that federal protection. I mean, in fact, I'm going to tell you, I've been at several rallies. I've been at several events where presidents have spoken. This was the tightest security I've ever seen in my life. They had that big shield for people to speak behind. They had riot police. They had every kind of person there. All the feds were there, taking care and watching over everything with, eagle eyes. That could not happen in the 60s. That was impossible. We didn't have the representation. We would have had only 8 if we got them all in the same location. That just shows you why they want to get rid of our political power. Because they don't like that. They want to be able to beat us senseless. They want to be able to attack us. And they don't want there to be a shield of protection. That's why they're trying to get rid of it. And so that's a big change. They want to take us back to the days of only 7 or 8 or 0 would make them happy. So I just think, that's one of the big things I really observed was different.
I want to say
that
that
presence.
I did want to say that, good for the members of Congress who were there and good for
22. Thank you.
I'm saying, Barbara, that's great. But I'm saying for the 6,000 people or more who came to protest.
Yes.
Marches themselves in the past there was the expectation that we would be confronting the evil, not those who've been given a alternative location for counter protesting, but not the evil itself.
Yes.
There was a risk that we were going to go to jail. It was a risk that we were going to get our skulls cracked, like the late John Lewis. There was a risk. And the drama from that became so pronounced that when John Lewis got hit and got hurt and those dogs were sick on those marchers, that Lyndon Johnson then, because the country and the world were watching that behavior, that he had to address the Congress of the United States and offer a remedy to the way American citizens and veterans and others were being treated in that context. I'm talking about the dramatic effect, not of a bunch of us showed up with security and, hey, we are the big willies of the march.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm just making the distinction.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's a different time and era, because May Day came and there were demonstrations of labor unions all over this country and nobody got beat up and stuff. It's a different era. That doesn't mean there isn't violence every darn day. You don't get the feeds I do of all the families whose children are being killed by police still. We got the drama going on, the violence, the killing, and the
young man
and
who
the
was
sacrifices
dismembered,
happening.
the young man who was dismembered in Alabama, where there needs to be some justice.
Right.
In that
And
particular.
that has not, but I'm just saying the era is different. You have more social, you have more media outlets, you have more opportunity for people to, watch stuff differently. You don't only have, Walter Cronkite and a few others. It's a different era. And the era is different. And I think that what people are trying to do is to rise to the best of their ability. And that doesn't mean you won't get beaten. It just means that because people know the cameras are everywhere, because people are aware that the videotaping, like we saw, they couldn't get away with killing Renee Good. They couldn't get away with killing Alice Pretty because people had their phones out, because that is the reality. The situation is not parallel. It's not parallel. It's not diametrically different, but it's not parallel.
I accept that, but I can also share with you that the drama of Justin Pearson cussing out that state police officer was a shot heard around the world.
Right.
On the same issue.
And my brother who testified in Louisiana with the red cap and told them who they were. That was heard across the world.
And that's what I mean by the confrontation.
Yes.
But we're not in disagreement. You know me, I'm with you.
Right. And I'm just telling you there's plenty of confrontation, because think about it. What you probably haven't seen is the video of California. When the California state legislature met and because Justin Jones went to California. And California had, a whole hearing, a whole session where they voted to condemn the Supreme Court's Calais case. And they voted to call, on all these other states to do what they could do. And you should have heard some of the evil that came out of the mouths of some of those folks. So confrontation's happening. When you look at, they're dragging poor Deanna Reed by her hair out of the legislature in Alabama. That was confrontation. When you look at what they did to the people calling Randall Gaines, who's a black man attorney, the president of the Democratic Party of Louisiana, called him, howling at him with their billy clubs. Shut up, boy. Come on now. It has not been some little people just showing up and looking peaceful and dressed up. It's been ugly as hell.
That's what I'm talking
about. People have been, and that's confrontation. All I'm saying is the confrontation you want is happening.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not violent. I believe in nonviolence.
No. But you're saying you want to make sure it's real.
I want to make sure that the story is told beyond the speeches and the marches.
Right.
Because, when those African-American parishioners exited the church in Marion, Alabama, after a peaceful prayer meeting where Jimmy Lee Jackson was killed, when they walked out, there were 200 state police officers.
Right.
to meet them when they walked out.
Exactly.
And beat them and that crowd half to death. And the same 200 state police officers and more, 2 weeks later, were on the other side of the Edmund Pettus Bridge waiting for part 2. And so we're saying the same thing. I'm just simply saying that.
I think we're saying one thing we're saying different is that I think that we should be grateful to your dad, to Martin Luther King, to John Lewis, and everybody else who went through hell during that time. We should be grateful to them because they made it so that we could do what we do today in the way that we do it today without them having to murder all of us. That you don't have to have, all of that happening at the same time. That's because their sacrifice, that blood that they put in the ground covered us. If you want to put it that way, it's covered us. And that is their victory. That is their success. That is what we should be grateful to them for, because their sacrifice had real meaning.
Well, we're poking the bear. We're poking the bear. There's no doubt about the fact that we are poking the bear. And there is no doubt about it that Barbara Arnwine and the Transformative Justice Coalition is on the ground. Now, I told all of you all who could hear my voice last week, whether you are on the 10 or the 118, the 110 or the 405, listen, we may not be able to make it all the way to Alabama while Barbara Arnwine and these organizations, the American Federation of Teachers, labor unions, and others, are there fighting for our rights. But we can be the wind beneath her wings and their wings in this fight, because she comes right back here to KBLA and she reports to us exactly what's happening on the ground. With that said, Barbara, how can we support your amazing work at the Transformative Justice Coalition?
You can go to, thank you so much, and thanks for your show. Thank you for the focus, and thanks for asking those hard questions. Everyone, you can go to tjcoalition.org, tjcoalition.org, and make a contribution. Let us do what we did on Saturday. Gathering people, educating people, making sure that people have been turning out. Folks, because of what's happening on the ground, the largest Black voter turnout has been happening in this country during these primaries. Instead of being depressed and running away, Black folks are running to those polls. They're saying, okay, you try to take my vote, let me show you what my vote looks like. So because of that, when we were there on Saturday, we had all our young people there who we trained. We had lots of them, almost a score of them. People do contribute to the Transformative Justice Coalition. Help us to do this work, because we're all about winning. We're not about just, posturing and posing and all that stuff. We're about winning. So come with us.
And I'm a witness to the fact that if you do get in trouble, Barbara Arnwine and her organization will
I've been arrested enough.
They'll bail you out. Hey, Barbara, let me ask you a question. You sent me a flyer about a day of action in Mississippi. Share what's happening.
Oh, tomorrow, we're very blessed that the people of Mississippi have decided that they ain't going to take it, because the governor has been colluding with the Supreme Court and doing everything that he can. And they want to get rid of Benny Thompson's district. Can you believe me? You served with him.
I sure did.
You know who he is.
And he has done an extraordinary job on Homeland Security, protecting the American people. Barbara?
Yes, and they want to get rid of his district. So they announced that they were going to have this session, a special session, but then instead they went behind, they did their little collusive work and got the Supreme Court to get rid of some of the lower level state districts, majority Black districts, and they postponed their hearing because everybody in the world was going crazy. Because what people miss is that in order to have this vote, they decided to do it at the old slave-built segregationist museum where their legislature used to sit. And they wanted to go back there to make the point of that they were returning, that the South was rising again. They wanted to go back there to have that vote. And people got a wind of it. People have been shaming them, and it worked. So they are not going to have that vote. They're going to do it in their new modern whatever capital instead at some point in the future. But they made it very clear that they would do it at least in 2027 so they can affect the 2028 elections.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Tenacious Tuesday, and we are on the grind with attorney Barbara Arnwine, the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition. More we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says the U.S. was close to attacking Iran, but he put the strike on hold after Middle Eastern leaders asked for more time to negotiate.
The ships are all loaded. They're loaded to the brim, and we're all set to start.
Trump adds a deal could be close. The NAACP is launching an out-of-bounds campaign urging Black athletes, fans, and donors to boycott major college athletic programs in some southern states over voting rights. The campaign targets schools in states like Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Florida following a Supreme Court ruling the NAACP says weakens Black voting representation. And Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice is in custody in Texas after violating probation in his high-speed crash case. Court records say Rice tested positive for THC and must now serve a previously ordered 30-day jail sentence. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The laughs keep coming when Bert Kreischer hits Fantasy Springs Resort Casino May 22nd. Big energy, big comedy, one wild night. Get tickets now at FantasySpringsResort.com. That's FantasySpringsResort.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When the Oklahoma City Thunder swept the Lakers in the second round of the NBA playoffs, there was nobody on the Lakers roster who came close to the talent level of Victor Wembanyama. OKC found out Monday night that they have a serious upgrade in competition in the Western Conference Finals. Wembanyama had a dominating performance in Game 1 for the San Antonio Spurs, 41 points, 24 rebounds, and 3 block shots. The numbers added up to a 122-115 victory for the Spurs in double overtime in Oklahoma City. At age 22, Wembanyama is the youngest player in NBA history to have at least 40 points and 20 rebounds in a playoff game. OKC has a lot of work to do to figure out how to handle this rising superstar. Game 2 is Wednesday night in Oklahoma City. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals is tonight, Cleveland at New York, 5 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa,
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to number 1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Ready to order? Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to kbla1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine, who was born in Southern California. Barbara Arnwine is a graduate of Scripps College and Duke University School of Law. Barbara is doing some of the most extraordinary work that history is actually going to record. The work that she is doing during this period, where all roads point to the end of Second Reconstruction and the beginning of Jim Crow 2.0, but no one is working harder to extend Second Reconstruction harder than Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for your great intellectual prowess that you bring to your show. Thanks for having me on.
I bring only a fraction of that which you offer every single week, and I am so grateful for your contribution. Barbara, let me ask you this question. A number of our organizations, the NAACP and others, are calling for African-American athletes to
out of bounds
or reconsider the Southern states and the Southern state schools. Barbara, please share with us, one, your thoughts, and number two, what you think we should do.
I think that's a really good start. I think we need some really powerful financial boycotts that would put more pressure on these states. But I do think that athletes should not go play for these public state institutions and give them all your best while they're stomping on and killing your people. No, 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 no. Should not do that. But I also think that we need to bring some financial pain to these states where, and of course, the athletes, the schools will lose money. There's no doubt about that. And that will be a source of financial pain. But I'm talking about the billions and millions of dollars, a target level boycotts we need to be looking at having in these states. And remember, we boycotted South Carolina, or let's say we economically fasted them for decades until they took down that stupid racist Confederate flag. So I just think there's some that we got to fight fire with fire. And that it's not appropriate just to say that we got the moral high ground, which we do have, but we also got to make it a stick and make it pay. Can I say two things I forgot to say at the top of the show?
Barbara, this
And I'm
time is
so embarrassed. Happy Malcolm X Day.
amen.
I mean, this is Malcolm X's 101. It would have been his 101 birthday. Happy heavenly birthday, Malcolm X. Thank you for everything you did, because you even went to Selma. Thank you for everything you've ever done to really advance our people and make us smarter, wiser, and more, and blacker and proud of it. I also
A necessary voice that we need, miss at
and
this
remember
point in our history. No doubt about it, Barbara.
and
Wonderful.
remember he said the ballot or the what? The bullet. He said,
Valid.
give us the ballot or suffer consequences. I mean, we got to remember his voice. Also, I forgot to mention that tonight, there's going to be a PBS special on W.E.B. Du Bois. And so be sure, because it's his birthday, I believe. It's another birthday tribute. And I want people to watch that, because you really need to know about this man if you never ever known. And the third thing I can't believe I forgot to say is Black folks, everybody, no matter what race you are, everyone, call your people right now and tell them that it's time to vote in these 5 states. Have primaries.
Barbara is encouraging us to vote in the primary elections where you can hear our voice around the country. We have a little intermittent signal problem, but Barbara is spot on. Today is election day in 5 different states. Barbara, those states, how important are they, and what is the message takeaway if Democrats emerge successful tonight?
Tell them to Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Oregon all have elections today, all have primary elections. What's important is to just make sure your voice is heard. Make sure that people know that you vote, because when you vote, you scare the heck out of people. They love it when you sleep. They love it when you say, oh, it doesn't make any difference. They love that, because then they can steal your power.
Barbara, are there any races that you're looking at particularly tonight that we should look as a bellwether, some sense of what the American people are feeling? I'm sure there'll be a lot of people handicapping tonight on the TV shows. In fact, I wish Barbara Arnwine were on CNN or MSNBC or some of these shows, by the way, producers who are listening. Barbara, is there anything that you're looking for towards hearing tonight?
Yes, I'm very interested in Alabama. I'm very interested in Georgia. In particular, I think those 2 states are going to be very key, because that's where they've done everything they can to depress the Black vote. And I'm very curious to see how people turn up and turn out, because it's critical that we're not silent in these times, and that people hear from us. And so it's going to be interesting to see. You see, one of the problems that they got that nobody talks about is, you know how they split the Memphis district into 3? And in good old Mississippi, we're almost 40% and probably are more than 40% of the population. In some respects, when they split these and, they crack, as it's called, when they crack these districts, which is evil, when they do that, it actually means that if we organize appropriately, we can cause all kind of heck that nobody ever thought. And there's certain levels of redistricting that they can't even reach. And don't forget, everybody, all of these Supreme Court actions has no impact on the Senate elections. So I want everyone to understand that we can make a difference, but only if we vote.
That's really interesting because I think that our future, quite frankly, to your point about these congressional seats not impacting the statewide races like U.S. Senate, that the future of African Americans in the short term during this Jim Crow 2.0 could very well be in the United States Senate. Because, for example,
isn't that interesting?
It's really interesting that blacks across multiple districts that currently exist can vote for a statewide office holder.
You got it.
Juliana Stratton in Illinois, even though they may not be able to vote for a congressman or have an equal opportunity of electing a congressman at the level of government just under the United States Senate. That's going to be deeply troubling. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Barbara Arnwine when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelenos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a data analyst.
Hey, what model did you use for these quarterly projections?
Astrology. If Mercury's in retrograde, sales tank. If Venus is rising, we crush Q4.
You built our revenue forecast off horoscopes?
Yeah, the Zodiac never lies.
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at WootenCenter.org. That's WootenCenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is our final segment on Tenacious Tuesday. We're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. Barbara is the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition and is internationally renowned for her contributions on critical justice issues. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good to be here.
Barbara, I do have a question for you. I had a guest on earlier in the week who talked about, and the example you used in the last segment was about how Memphis is being divided into 3 districts, essentially dividing the Black community, the concentration of Black people in the state of Tennessee into 3 different congressional districts, making it very difficult for an African American to win. But it doesn't necessarily make it difficult for a Democrat to win. And so our show was about the Blue Dog Democrats, where there are enough African Americans between liberal whites in a congressional district and conservative whites in a congressional district that if Blacks go with the liberals, the liberal congressman, the Stephen Cohen, can come to the Congress of the United States potentially in that framework. But those Democrats tend to be what they call blue dog conservative Democrats who don't always vote our interests. Is there any concern in your thinking, about the rise of the blue dog Democrats in the Congress in light of how Black people will be apportioned amongst multiple congressional districts and, give or take a few seats here or there, the dynamic that I just shared with you?
It's always a good worry. I think that it's once again an issue of how smart African Americans are with how we vote. How strategic we are with how we vote, what demands we make, and giving anybody our support. I think just like some of the Blue Dog days, we were talking about the times they are changing and how things aren't parallel. I think that some of the conditions that produce the Blue Dogs will work against them in getting African American support unless they radically change those kind of politics. I also think that it's not impossible to actually see some Blacks possibly elected even, but it's going to take some good work, and it's going to be hard for them, no matter what they do, it's going to be hard for them to still ignore Black political power. And I'm still trying to figure out, based on that Memphis map, if it's not attackable because it's not compact at all. In order to split all those blacks, they had to draw the little ugliest little thing you ever seen. It looks like what, a cane? It's so ugly. And that so I've been thinking about how in the heck is I'm sorry, how is that legal? And so I think that there's some other issues out here that are going to have to be dealt with because they drew it that way so they could try to make sure that blacks had no real influence. But that's just isn't consistent with traditional redistricting principles, even if you quote being race neutral. So I think there's some problems still outstanding here.
Barbara, I do have one more question before your word of hope, and we've got about 5 minutes before the top of the hour, so you can divide this question between your word of hope and that. I know you've worked very hard in the reparations space.
Yes.
It seems to me that Donald Trump and his January 6th slush fund has shown us as Democrats that we don't need Congress to establish between the Department of Justice and the Department of Treasury a compensation fund for African Americans on the scale that is the problem, that we've been pushing studies, encouraged to lobby members of Congress to sign on to bills about studies. There are no January 6 people walking around the hill trying to get people to study their compensation or their package. They just have executive leadership. Is it fair? I'm sorry, let me say, isn't it fair that we as African Americans within the Democratic Party, that we hold Democratic future nominees and presidents accountable to the idea, don't send us to Congress anymore, set up the fund? Barbara?
Tell me about it.
Oh.
Come on now. Tell me about it. I mean, that is brilliant, and it's a well delivered. In Cobra, we'll be meeting in DC in late June. I'm going to be on a panel on the 26th to talk about reparations. And you're right, the ground just shifted, didn't it?
They sure did.
And that's a good point, because in setting up his little slush fund for his insurrectionist buddies with did you guys notice there's no criteria for who can apply for this fund? So you're right, it blows out of the water so many of their arguments, and Democrats, get with it. Stop playing the stupid game. Play the smart game. Benefit and take care of your base, and stop falling for all this quote, we're going to be so righteous, when it's really unrighteous to the people who you depend on. So yes, I mean, reparations has to be back heavily on the schedule.
Barbara, a word of hope.
The hope is that I was so very moved to see all the beautiful young Black folks that showed up at All Roads Lead to the South. Also, I was so moved, everybody, if you're in Montgomery, stay at the Elevation Hotel. It's gorgeous. It is so amazing to see such a high quality, I mean, platinum grade hotel owned by Black folks, owned by the Equal Justice Institute. They have built Wakanda. In that, I'm serious. In that hotel, it is gorgeous. And so that gave me a sense of happiness. And because they built within it all of our culture, all of our beautiful Black culture. You look out the windows when you're dining, and you could see all those incredible Black tributes to Rosa Parks and so many others. I mean, whoa, did they do that thing? It is gorgeous. High quality. So I would recommend that people stay there, but also it just uplifted my spirits because I know what we can do. And we got to know what we can do. And thank you, Brian Stevenson, for showing the world who we really are.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We've been on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. I can't wait to go to Montgomery and see.
You got to. Wait until you see it.
That's got to be amazing. The last time I was there, they had the museum, and they certainly had the tribute, if you will, the commemoration to those of our ancestors who've been lynched, the lynching museum, if you will, and even the incarceration museum, which I found amazing and fascinating. But I'm so grateful to you, Barbara, for being our eyes and ears on the ground for social justice and change. Those of you who want to support Barbara, tjcoalition.org. Go to the website, tjcoalition.org. We need to support her. She is the wind beneath our wings. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Wealthy Wednesdays is tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.